Somebody else do it again?
Good afternoon. At this time, I'll call the meeting of the Union County Water and Sewer District Board of Governors to order. And Mr. Manager, do you turn it over to you?
Yep, that'll be fine. This afternoon, we have 4 items to come before the Board of Governors. The first item has to do with rules of procedure, and I'm going to call on Mr. Jason Kay, General Counsel, to explain this item to the Board of Governors.
I don't know if I'm in the right spot, but I hope that I am. So this matter is pertaining to remote meetings. We had some legislation that was passed and subsequently signed late this morning. You have the hot off the presses version of the rule that lines up with all the terminology that they use in that state statute. The rule that we enacted for the single meeting last time is essentially the same as the rule before you. It was almost identical to what the General Assembly wound up requiring. Again, just some changes in terminology. So the reason we have this rule before you right now, even though all of the commissioners are physically present, is because we had to announce this meeting and put some things in the notice about the way it might be conducted and the way the public might be able to access it. That notice went out and couldn't be changed in advance of the meeting, so we're here today, even though we have all of you present. And you'll note a couple of things pertaining to questions we got last time. The remote meeting can be triggered when 2 things happen. One is that a state of emergency is declared at the local, state, or federal level. And second is when a majority of this board agrees with the calling of that meeting. And that's the rule that you see before here. You tonight will be going through a similar exercise when we go to the main Board of Commissioners meeting a little bit later after we conclude the Board of Governors.
Can you explain that a little? That would mean that a majority would actually have to be present to allow the other members to participate?
No, they would not necessarily have to be present to allow the others to participate, but a majority of the board would have to indicate its consent for the meeting to proceed in a remote fashion.
How would we do that?
You could do it by writing in advance. You could do it by live in the meeting like we're doing it now, or if we had a group of people outside who consented to that meeting. The standard is consent, not so much an official formal vote, if that makes sense, the distinction that we're making there. In order for the votes to count, you have to have a live meeting. In order to give consent, you can do that in all different ways.
I still have a lot of heartburn with this. Even when I knew I spoke before the meeting, and I've got some concerns. If we have 3 commissioners that are here that can start a meeting, again, the concerns would be the commissioner who doesn't have good internet access, that would be cut off or not understanding all the information. I think we need to be very rare in using something like this rather than it being a policy going from here forward that we can just do it.
Understood, and the rule that's before you tonight is just for this meeting of the Board of Governors and just for that meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, unless you all choose to change it. We changed the language in there based upon your feedback last time, so these are just single meeting rules. However, now moving forward at the state level, the state statutes permit boards to meet in declared states of emergency and to do so remotely. That's allowed. There are some things in your rules that were drafted for not that statutory environment, for the old statutory environment, that still need to be changed in your rules to allow that to happen, even the state statutes permit it.
Stoney, when we talked about this in the agenda meeting, I thought about the time you had to come home from vacation to vote. And that's if we can do it where we only can do it at the meeting, I think it's crazy for you to have, or any of us to have to end a family vacation when you could just get to a hot wireless spot. That was all I thought it would be good for.
That, you know, for convenience of, and respect for other commissioners, that would be, but, you know, what I can see happening in the future again is if you had a contentious board where, you know, one wasn't allowed to vote, or one couldn't be reached by telephone, or one lost his internet connection, does there come some legal action on the county from that one who wanted to be contrary to the other commissioners, or to have his vote counted, and there's some other things there. The other thing I would be concerned with is that person on the telephone, you know, are they able to see the information that the other commissioners and the public are seeing? Are they able to, are they actually, do they have somebody in the room with them, tell them how they would do things, and which that would limit access to the people in the room? Let's say you have your people in the room that come up and speak against a rezoning, and then you're sitting there with one of the guys that are doing the rezoning in an undisclosed location on a telephone, and they're telling you what they want you to do, and I could see that being a big concern and a big problem. Again, this should be, I think because of our open meeting laws, this should be very rare, rather than us looking at it as a, like you said, for like a potential coming home from vacation. If it were a routine matter, or maybe one commissioner's out, you'd still have a majority of the board there, which would mean that whatever happens, happens. But you know, a lot of times I come home because if I wanted to have input in the matter, more than I'm gonna break a tie or do something like that.
I assume that this meeting would be a virtual meeting like we had with the last commission meeting where Commissioner Raper and I called in with video. This is not just a telephone call.
It could include any means of meeting by simultaneous communication is the standard in the state statute, whether that's video or audio. Either one qualifies under the state statute.
That is the limit to which we could be. We could set where it has to be a video.
Yes, sir.
Is our policy, right?
Absolutely.
You know, we talked about before, and this has happened in this body before, where a commissioner would get up and leave, and their vote would be counted as an affirmative if they did not have permission to do that. So, again, when that commissioner is at home and loses his internet connection, or loses her internet connection, would that also be counted as an affirmative, or would that be?
So under the rules that are drafted right now, pursuant to the way the state has organized the statute, it would be a different outcome if somebody leaves the meeting physically versus somebody losing their connection. If somebody loses their connection under a remote meeting, they're simply out of the meeting. They don't count for quorum purposes anymore, and they don't count as a yay or a nay vote because of a technological issue. Your normal rule is, as you stated, Commissioner Rushing, is that if somebody gets up and excuses themselves from a meeting and they're not excused by the body formally, then that counts as an affirmative vote on this thing's coming up. This would be a difference. Of course, we can draft it to pattern perfectly the outcome that would occur if somebody physically left the meeting, but we can certainly do that. But the state statutes are, they organize it a little bit differently. But more important for our purposes, when we were looking at this before the state statute was in effect, all of the current guidance was to say because of the finickiness of somebody's connection, it shouldn't result in a vote on or off.
And we're required to vote on matters. I mean, there's no, I don't want to just vote on that because I got friends on both sides or whatever. So
That's right.
I can see a problem with somebody reaching back and pulling the plug on the computer if they didn't want to vote. If they had, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
That would be a way to misuse.
So again, I do think it's real important that there be a quorum of 3 commissioners at least present for the meeting before we would do anything with remote meetings of having 5 of us, or having maybe 3 absent and 2 in place, and there has to be some strict rules on this, I think, to make me comfortable with it.
further questions? We're gonna move, we adopt the amendment for an additional rule for the Rules of Procedure Union County Water and Sewer District Board of Governors for electronic meetings applicable only for its May 4th, 2020 special meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next two items, I'm going to ask Mr. Brian Matthews to speak to you on. The first one is adopting a resolution of the Union County Water and Sewer District Board of Governors taking certain actions related to utility service disconnections, late fees, and payment plans due to the COVID-19 and Governor's Executive Order number 124. Brian?
Thank you, sir. Chairman, Commissioners. Essentially, when the governor took his action to basically stay any disconnect for the system and any late fees that a utility would normally charge, we have a fee schedule in place that you adopt every year. We actually took action to limit disconnects and late fees prior to the governor's executive order. What we're here tonight is to ask the board to ratify those actions to allow for your fee schedule to take into consideration that we will not be collecting late fees or any disconnect fees during the time period that we started this on March 17th through when the governor actually ends it. Currently, the executive order calls for May 31st. If he extends that for any reason, we're asking for it obviously to go past that date. There is a financial impact. We are expected to lose revenue. This is a governor-initiated executive order, so we're following it. But we are asking for you, the board, to ratify that decision.
Have other counties done the same?
Yes, sir. So all around the state, the counties there are no more late fees or disconnect fees during this period of time, and revenue is being lost as well.
So we're gonna lose $400,000?
It's estimated, and that's not exact. Obviously, we're basing it on past trends and how much we've lost to date. So we're basically extrapolating what we've lost and what we think we'll do by the end of May.
And that's just in late fees
And disconnect fees, yes, sir.
and fees,
Yes, sir.
but not in our actual rate structure?
Not
Not our actual rates, not our rates?
No, sir, it's not rates. It is basically when you get a disconnect, you have to pay a reconnect fee. When you have when you're late, you have to pay a late fee. The governor's program allows for individuals to actually apply for a payment plan. And I believe that goes through the end of the calendar year. So they can set up a payment plan and pay they owe us the money. But they have a long time to pay us the money back. Now, they don't owe us late fees anymore. So whatever bills they've incurred, they owe money for. But late fees, we cannot collect. We can only collect their water costs that they've incurred to us.
Is there a defined date on when these late fees will resume?
No, sir, because the governor's order is, May 31st is what his current order says. It could extend that. Right now, it's through May 31st. My mistake, it is May 31st at this point.
Where they're coming up with how much it's gonna cost us is based on previous experience.
Yes, sir.
Late fees are part of our income model. So the 400,000 was pulled from previous history.
They did. They looked at previous history. I will tell you there is an uptick in the number of folks that are past due. I don't know if it's for lack of being able to pay or just they know that they don't have to pay. They can stretch it out if they wish to. But we have seen a little bit of an increase in past due accounts.
Motion to adopt the resolution, Union County Water and Sewer District Board of Governors taking certain actions related to utility service disconnections, late fees, and payment plans due to COVID-19, Governor's Executive Order 124. Have a motion, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman. The next item, System Development Fee Capital Reserve Fund Amendment. There's also an attachment that details that amendment for these system development fees. So, Brian?
Yes, sir. So this is a regular occurrence for the board. Whenever we collect system development fees, the board of governors actually has to allocate those system development fees to capital reserve fund. You've done this previously. We have about $2.7 million, I believe $2.77 million set aside now that we've collected since June of 19 through March of 2020. Those funds would then be allocated to our capital reserve fund once the board of governors takes action, and the commissioners also, I believe, have to take action on that, I believe. Once that's done, those funds sit in the capital reserve fund and they're used within the service area that they were collected from. That's how the statutes and how it's actually determined. When you collect those system development fees, they have to be used within that service area. And they're used for projects that are part of the capital project list.
How much is available?
2.77 million right now. I don't know how much is actually in their total. That's how much will be moved into there with this action tonight, $2.77 million.
Rough estimate on how much is in the fund now?
I don't know that, sir, and I'd hate to give you an answer. I don't know off the top of my head. I can find that out and send it to you, though. I just don't have it right now.
I make a motion to adopt the Water and Sewer District Budget Amendment Number 1 and adopt resolution for Union County Water and Sewer District Board of Governors amending the System Development Fee Capital Reserve Fund.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say
Just a question.
Sorry.
Is that balance not right here on this budget amendment?
It may be, sir. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at
Page
that.
12 or 17, you got a fund balance, capital reserve fund, fund balance appropriation, system development fees transfer to water and sewer capital fund. Is that one of those balances not indicative of the fund balance?
It may be, sir. I just, let me confirm it. I just don't
Okay.
want to tell you for sure. It might be wrong.
No further questions.
Mr. Rushing, you good?
I'm ready.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Oh, sorry, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, the last item for the Board of Governors is minutes for approval.
Motion to approve the minutes is submitted.
We have a motion, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That would be it.
Any further business? Motion to adjourn the Union County Water and Sewer District Board of Governors, Monday, May 4th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Just stay in here.